Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast all about board and card games and the people who play them. This episode, number 11, is part of our Classic series and was originally aired on August 11th, 2005. This episode of the Dice Tower is proudly sponsored by iLevel Entertainment, creators of the upcoming game ETI, Estimated Time to Invasion. In ETI, 3 to 6 players race to discover the secret technologies needed to defend Earth from alien invasion. ETI, the survival of humanity depends on everything you haven't invented yet. Learn more at etithegame.com. And now, here's your host, Tom Vassell.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Dice Tower. This is Tom Vassell. I'm really glad to have you with us today. What we'll be listening to today is episode 11. Alright, what movie is that from?
That's a golden oldie there.
We even used a MIDI file to make it harder.
Yeah, it was too easy last week.
Yeah, actually we only had 2 people guess it.
Yeah, 2 people, right? And I already gave I gave the guy his geek gold already. So.
The Last Starfighter, one of my favorite movies from the 80s, I guess. I really like.
The best part's the very ending when he says, "Sir, what do we do?" We die.
We do die. All right. Well, welcome to episode 11 of the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joe Stedman.
We basically cover tabletop games that aren't computer games, but with a heavy emphasis on board games. Mm-hmm. Board games from various countries all over the world of different types.
Different types of board games. There's war games, Euro games, German games. I call them war games and peace games now.
Well, I'm a proud peace game player then.
Peace games.
We'll hold a peace protest later tonight.
Spelled like pieces.
We are absolutely astounded by the feedback that we got back from our last show, and we'll get to that in just a bit. Speaking of Board Game Geek, if you're listening to our show, you should also go there and check out that site.
It's a good site.
It is.
It's the site. Capital T.
Well, I don't know. I like Game Fest maybe a little better. I don't know. Board Game Geek and Game Fest are the top 2 sites you can go to.
I see Board Game Geek's like my library.
Yeah, we like Board Game Geek.
Yes.
So, moving on. There's other, we noticed that we were the 3rd podcast.
Yeah.
Geek Speak, which is now called Board Game Speak, was the 1st. Mm-hmm. And then Board Games to Go was the 2nd, and then we were the 3rd.
Yeah.
But now it appears that there's like 6.
Yeah.
There's all games considered. There's the Al and Tim show, or I forget. There's 2.
I don't know.
There's a lot of them out there, but very few of them concentrate on mostly board games, except for, of course, the premier Board Game Speak. But that's what we like to concentrate on. So if you're new to our show, sit back. We're going to talk about board games. Today our top 10 list, which we do every show, is about the top 10 games our wives like.
Yeah,
and they actually made these lists up. I made a list up.
I was surprised, right?
And my wife's list was different than what I thought she liked.
Same here. She totally surprised me.
Should have had her do this a long time ago.
I'm going to go to GameFest.com probably later on and make an order.
Where you can get a discount from the manufacturer's suggested retail price.
Yeah.
All right. Our contest we did last week and is still running for one more week. You have till the one more week from the day that we post this, which is the 10th of August. So you have to August 17th to send us one thing you like about our show, one thing you dislike about our show, and one thing and a suggestion. And Joe said that the secret words you had to send were Tom Sucks or Hot Lava Death, which
Hot Lava Death.
I think half the people actually did do. So
Hot Lava Death.
We will next week on our show, in the middle of the show, we will randomly pick someone to win a copy of Conquest of the Empires by Eagle Games.
And we're going to have a neutral third party that'll be here, so you don't accuse us of cheating.
Yeah.
Or at least we're going to try to have someone here.
Well, someone said, I want to be nice to Joe because his kid's picking it. Did you say that? Your kid was going to pick it?
I was just joking.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And one person was like buttering up you.
Yeah.
And another person would butter up me. But we did get a lot of good feedback.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them said Tom sucks.
You do not need to send us any more feedback about our fantasy session reports. We got the point.
Yeah, we axed. We're no longer going to do fantasy session reports.
We got a lot of negative response there.
I don't think we got any positive. Did we get any positive about that?
One person did. I think Grog.
Probably Grognerds.
No, Grognads.
Grognads.
I got one letter that informed me that we were pronouncing his name incorrectly.
It's Grognads.
Right. We're very sorry. We didn't mean to call you Grog.
Hey, did you know Grog has his own blog?
Do you know the website?
It's Grog Blog. That's all I remember.
Grog Blog. Well, actually, there's another good blog, the board games discussion, where they're copying what we're doing at Game Fest.
Yeah. What's it called? Board Games to Go or something like that?
Yeah, actually, there's a question about that later on, about how it's called Gone Gaming. Gone Gaming at the blog spot, and they actually have many good people there. D.W. Tripp, Coldfoot. If you like reading the inane ramblings of Grognaz, you can go there and read his stuff too. But it's just excellent stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was called Gone Gaming. Yeah, you just said that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, back to our responses. We really do appreciate the feedback. You must realize, though, that there are some times where some person would say, my favorite thing about the show is this, and someone else would say, you need to change this. They're the same thing. We can't please everyone. We're not even going to try to please everyone, but we will listen when the masses call down to get rid of certain things.
Yeah, so as much as we enjoy doing those, we won't do those anymore.
I was going to fire Joe, but apparently, according to my feedback, if I do, I'll have no listeners. So
it's because I am the mortar that holds the bricks together.
But you got another week. We have about 70 responses so far, which is more than the 3 listeners we thought.
We thought we would have maybe 5, 6 listeners.
I think 5 people, though, claim to be the 3rd listener.
It's probably all bogus email accounts.
Send your real name in, and if you've already registered and applied, don't worry. Even if you lose, we will be having more of these. I have other game companies that are willing to participate. But
plus, Tom's got plenty of games. We can start giving away his.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still bringing new teachers into my room to show them the games. And how can there be so many games? Yeah. We had someone who came to my classroom today, and they wanted a game set so that they could buy their class games like Trouble
and Monopoly and.
Well, I don't even think she said Monopoly.
No,
she said Trouble and
Checkers and
Life. And we tried to. Well, at least I tried to talk her out of it.
I told her. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, we said we'd get rid of those games and give them to her. Of course, now she's going to listen to the show.
Probably.
Yeah.
Hi, Angela.
All right. So, someone in one of the comments that we got, someone asked and said, you're living in a country like Korea. Maybe if you could tell us a little bit about gaming in Korea a little bit. That's something that we can do that no one else can do.
Right.
So I thought we could just mention something about Korean gamers. When I play with a group of Korean gamers, and I did this last Saturday, it's a very different experience than with American gamers. For one thing, the Americans are much more competitive than Koreans, I think. At least...
Unless you're talking about Shenmue. Shenmue is different, but everyone else.
Well, yeah, but when the game is over and they lose, it's over at that point in time and done. It doesn't carry on.
There's not a lot of metagaming?
I don't think so. And also, I was playing Age of Steam, and they were all pointing out optimal moves to the other person.
That's kind of annoying, though.
Well, but it's a different culture. I don't mind it, but it does. If you do that in a game with Joe, he will call you down for that.
Yes, I will, and I'll flip the board over.
He'll say, no kibitzing, and
yes.
That's that.
And plus, when you play with Korean gamers, if you make a really silly move or something, they'll grab a big, huge mallet and hit you over the head.
Well, they don't do it to Americans, that I've noticed.
They have these toy mallets that they keep in all the game cafes, and it's just weird to see adults hitting each over the head with these toy mallets. They squeak when you hit each other. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you can buy them at fairs and at amusement parks, and it's pretty funny to watch. In fact, one time we were playing, and these teenage girls were playing Holly Golly, and the loser had to come up, and they would ask us to hit them on the head with the hammer.
Yeah, they would politely ask us in Korean to hit us.
And we did.
Yeah.
After a while, I was like, man, I was wailing on them.
No, they didn't hit us. We hit them. They
were
these big, huge American guys, and you should have seen Tom winding up and smashing this 14-year-old girl.
Well, it's just the way to get rid of the aggression.
He was hitting her hard, man. I was like...
Well, they kept coming back.
Yeah.
Well, now, we have some questions from our listeners. We do this every show. If you have a question, email thedicetower@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. It will go to either Joe or me or both of us. Just put the name of the person in the email, and it will go to that person. If you put Joe in, it goes to Joe. And if you put Tom in, it goes to Tom. If you put Joe sucks, it's still going to go to Joe. So think about that when you put...
And if you put nothing, we'll both get it.
Right. But what we decided is we had so much email that we're not going to read the comments. We do appreciate all the people who say, your
Tom
show's
sucks.
Great, we love you, it's the greatest thing, now my life is not boring anymore.
We've got a few nasty grams, but not many.
Well, maybe just one.
Just one.
But for the most part, I really do appreciate it. And if we don't read your comments in the air, I'm sorry. We just want to conserve some time. But we will try to respond to them. If we don't, email us again and say you didn't respond back, because I do like to keep in contact with the gaming community.
Yeah, it's really, I didn't realize there was so many people listening to the show. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, 70.
Yeah, at least 70.
or maybe 20 friends who told.
All right, well, either way.
30 other people, 50 other people.
I'm starting to feel like I'm famous or something.
Tomorrow school starts for us. It's our first day of classes.
Yeah, that's exciting.
But not much will happen because it's only a half day. And we say, hey, kids, welcome to our class. Do you want to sit down? My name's Tom. And the bell rings and they leave.
Well, I don't say my name's Tom. I say my name's Mr. Stedman. See, I have discipline in my class and Tom doesn't.
I say Mr. too. I was being polite.
Tom's a pushover in class.
All right. Well, let's get into our questions so we can get to our top 10 games later on. And we also have a audio review later on, and we'll talk more about that when we get to it. This question's from Elijah Hamovitz, and he says, what role do you think luck should play in the design of a balanced game? Should a game have, for example, no luck chess, minor or insignificant luck like Puerto Rico? In Puerto Rico, the only luck is turning the tiles over, the plantations. Player-specific luck based on the drawing of cards or tiles, many games. Equal luck based on the random setup of the play area, like clans. Or nothing but pure unbridled luck, war. Well, I can tell you right now, I don't like pure unbridled luck.
Yeah.
Although sometimes we'll be like, we'll roll for it. Me and Joe have a decision, and we roll to see what happens.
Yeah, chance cubes.
He says, it seems like games such as chess and Puerto Rico, by their very predictability, lead to overanalysis and intense strategization, which is true.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, let me finish.
Okay,
to the point where someone could hit upon the logically superior first few moves, turning the game into nothing but a series of pre-planned maneuvers. I would argue that chess has suffered from this for years. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the subject and any comments you would like to add, drawing from your board game experience.
Well, I mean, to me, I guess it depends on the mood I'm in. Sometimes I just feel like a luck game. I don't really care, whatever. Luck's part of it. It's part of the, I like playing card games and whatnot, and you never know what's going to happen. But to me, the luck should only represent what you can't game. Like for instance, I can't. Like for a war game, for instance, you have to roll the dice to see what happens in a combat. You should use a CRT. I like CRTs better. There was an interesting discussion about CRTs versus the bucket of dice.
And what is a CRT?
Combat results table.
Ah.
Anyway, that's where you add up the numbers that are fighting each other with all the modifiers, and then it gives you an easy chart so that you can roll one die, or a 6-sided die or one 10-sided die, and you can look at the results on one die rather than throwing like a bucket of dice like you would do for Axis and Allies or many of the other games.
But don't you every once in a while like to throw that bucket of dice?
Like I said, it depends on what mood I'm in, but normally no. I mean, I guess I've changed over the years. It used to be that I'd love throwing the dice, but the more I play games, the more I'd rather just have a CRT and throw one die. Because you have to have chance in any conflict game, because you never know what's going to happen, what abstract things could happen.
Yeah, well, what about non-war games? Do you like a good game of Yahtzee every once in a while?
My wife likes Yahtzee.
Or roulette?
Roulette's fun.
Well, that's chance. That's pure unbridled chance.
Like I said, there's two different. I have a split personality, I guess, because sometimes I'm in the mood to not think, and when I'm in the mood to not think, then I'll play a luck-based game. I have a good friend who has a game called Luck Plus. That game is really nothing but just luck, but it's.
When it comes to games like chess and Puerto Rico, and in fact, I've been really enjoying the Gift series, the Zerts and those games, because they're straight strategy, and they are fun. Only, though, if both people haven't studied the game. I don't like to play chess against someone who's read books and books and books upon it. I don't like playing Puerto Rico against someone who's read all of Alex Rockwell's articles.
Yeah, Alex Rockwell. I was just trying. Who's that guy that writes the articles, right?
And he writes excellent articles and stuff, but when I play someone who knows every superior move, the game becomes not very much fun for me.
That's when... see, I guess that's where we're different, because I like that. There's times when I just want to play for fun, but there's times when I want to see how good I am or if I got the right strategy.
Oh, maybe.
That brings up the whole topic about WBC and why some people hate WBC and some people like it, the whole tournament play thing. What do you think about tournament play, Tom?
I personally don't like it that much, but I understand that there's a need that people want to be in it.
I think it's fun. I like tournament play.
But, I mean, I understand that there's people who want to be it. Now, the World Board Gaming Championships, I think it's hard for them to say they're the World Board Gaming Championships. They should just say they're the East Coast Board Gaming Championships or something to that effect. They're not...
Well, come on. If you say the world's best cup of coffee, I mean,
Well, I know, but I'm saying there's maybe 100 people in a tournament.
Okay,
right?
well, yeah, but for instance...
So they're the best out of those 100 people, but they're not the best in the world.
One of my favorite light war games is We the People, and they had the tournament there, and there was, I think I read 70-something people played in it. That's a lot of people for that game, an out-of-print game for years.
But how can they say that they're the best in the world?
But the guy who wins, because they put out the call, we're going to have this tournament. If you don't show up, then I guess you're not... Seriously, right? You can say the thing of Olympians.
Yeah, but who sanctioned them?
Okay, but seriously, you can say the same thing about Olympians, right? This guy's the fastest runner in the world. Well, how do you know that there's some guy standing out in Toledo, Ohio, who couldn't beat him in a sprint, but he's too poor to go to the Olympics?
In the case of the Olympics, they do scrounge the world and have tests and trials around the world. Like Magic the Gathering, they have a better championship. So does Settlers of Catan, because they have tournaments at many different things, and then they have one final tournament.
No, it's a war game. It doesn't have the support for that.
Well, I understand that. I just think it's funny.
Most of WBC is the...
And who wants to be the world champion of, Liar's Dice? Good for you! Woohoo!
World champion of a luck-based game. That's, whatever.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I like luck. Sometimes I like it a lot more than other times, but usually more so than not. As long as you give me some choices. Even if those choices is just a guess for me,
that's why
it's better than no choice.
That's why it's called a board game. There has to be some luck, otherwise it's not a game, right?
Yeah. Todd Goff wrote us.
Yeah, let me read this one for you. It says, have either of you tried Age of Exploration?
And the answer to that is no.
No. But it's been described as a multiplayer solitaire, which I think could be fun, thematic, and historical game. It looks like it'd be a good history teaching tool, though maybe not in Korea. I looked it up, and it does look like an interesting game. There was some other interesting... What was the designer of that game, Tom? Do you remember?
The designer also designed Pizarro and Company.
Oh, yeah, Pizarro and Company, right. Which it's funny, because Pizarro and Company is kind of just a light, very Euro game.
But they both have that exploration theme.
Right.
For those of you who are interested in the designer, it's Thomas Lehman.
Thomas Lehman, yeah.
He designed Age of Exploration, 1846 and 2038, fast food franchise, which from what I understand is very lucky in some regards. Pizarro and Company, Time Agent, Throne World. I don't know these games.
Right. Anyway, sorry, Todd. We have not played it, but thanks for putting me onto it. I might actually look into that game. And then he says also, what does Joe think about the upcoming Axis and Allies miniatures game, and is he going to give it a chance?
Well,
we hit on this a little bit in episode 10, but we didn't get a chance to really discuss it, did we, Tom?
Yeah, let's give you our opinions on it. Now, realize our opinions are based on one game that Joe played against me, and I will say that I lost quite badly.
Yeah, okay, well, but then again, we are some of the few people in the world who've actually played it, right?
Woohoo. Gen Con is coming out in a week and a half, and that's when they're releasing it. So we got to play it first.
For another week and a half, we are the elite.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people come in, but still.
Sure, but of the people.
Less than 200 people in the world.
Well, yeah, right. My thoughts on the actual game itself?
Well, let's start with the models.
Okay, the models. The models are awesome.
Thumbs up for the models.
Except for, the tanks, we're not going to talk about the marketing scheme right now. Let's just talk about the models themselves, the molds. They're pretty good. I mean, they're definitely war game standard, miniature standard for a tabletop miniatures game.
They're plastic, but they have a good paint job. They're
plastic, and they got a good paint job. They're better quality than almost anything I've seen as far as they would compare to like the HeroClix or the Mage Knight painting.
Would you repaint them?
I would probably just touch them up. Put some more detailing into them.
Yeah, I thought they were good enough for me, but I would only buy them to stick on a shelf anyway.
Right, and they're a 15 millimeter scale, so that's a comparable scale that's a pretty popular scale for miniature gaming. And then
the only thing I found slightly disappointing was about the models themselves was that with the men.
Yeah, I was going to say that they based the men in singles, and even though they represent a squad or a command team or whatever, they based him in a single. So one single dude, he's about the size of an Axis and Allies guy, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah, a little bit bigger.
He's that size, and he represents a whole platoon or a whole. I think it was a squad. I can't remember, and that was disappointing because most miniatures games, it's man for man. So
they had, when we were there though, they had one of every model of the original set, and I'm telling you, some of those tanks
were pretty nice.
They are very.
They had
very
all
nice.
the popular tanks: the Shermans, the Tigers, the Panther. You had the Firefly. They just had the real popular tanks, and
for those of you
Yog Panther.
If you're missing something, you have to realize that with every collectible game, unless it really, really stinks, it's going to have an expansion or two before they realize it's not any good.
Right.
More models are going to come.
So anyway, that brings us to the next point, which is the marketing.
Collectability.
The collectability thing, I hate it. I told the lady that I hated it, and Tom was kind of mad at me because I was so blunt with her. But
well, I don't really like it either. I wish you could just go buy a set of the tanks.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, for instance, if I don't know how it's going to sell. I could be totally wrong on this, but I don't think it's going to sell very well for the game system. I think that's going to flop because I don't see the market there.
You never know, though.
For a collectible World War II war game that's very, very light, the rules are very, very, very light.
Oh, so we're moving into gameplay?
Well, I'm just kind of we'll go back to that. But I think the majority of the people that are going to buy this game are the people that do miniature gaming in the 15 millimeter scale who don't want to paint it. So, like for instance, Flames of War. Their models are very expensive. And now I can go and I can get on eBay, I can buy pre-painted plastic stuff to augment my armies. Now, that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah, because of that, though, I think it's going to sell well. And
right.
I think you never know, a grassroots market might start up that
I think
people who like the game.
Right. I think she hinted at it. I think that if they sense that, I think that they might switch it over eventually. If they're making a lot of money, I mean, it just makes sense.
Or they might find a way to make it so that it's compatible with Magic the Gathering.
And anyway, and I think that even the little pieces might fit on a Memoir board, which would make it more of a simulation because the tanks are painted.
The tanks are bigger, though. The tanks
because,
are bigger.
If it's got military pieces in it, it's a simulation.
The tanks are bigger than a Memoir tank, though.
Yeah,
bigger. I was hoping they'd be a little smaller because I thought it would be really cool that we could put them on the same thing.
The game itself is very, very light. It reminded me of Memoir 44 kind of, and it reminded me a little bit of. It reminded me of Memoir 44 because of the combat system. You count how far away you are in boxes. It's set up on a grid, and then you get that many dice, to fire and things. And each little vehicle or each little squad has a little chart, a little like information thing. It tells you their strength, their combat strength, and their defense strength.
Right, and it tells you how good they are against armor or against infantry.
It's a very, very light simulation.
But it's more complicated than Memoir. And
which doesn't say much.
Well, I would say it's pretty much.
I don't even know it's more complicated than Memoir, really, because there's no cards or anything.
It's more complicated than Memoir, but that's not much more. I would say it's comparable to other Clicks games or other miniature games. It's very similar.
Right, we're talking about Axis and Allies miniatures, the new ones that are.
What does that do with Axis and Allies besides the name?
It's just a marketing scheme.
Yeah, I don't think.
I actually asked Larry, what's his name?
Larry Harris.
I asked Larry Harris. I said, "What do you think about Axis and Allies miniatures?" And he just kind of smirked at me. So I don't know what he thinks about it, but he just gave me a big smirk.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens there. And the rule book. We actually almost stole the rule book.
Yeah.
I was walking out with it, and Joe noticed that I was carrying it. I thought it was the promotional material. It was actually the rule book. So sorry, Wizards of the Coast, for attempting to be a thief. But the rule book looked like it was laid out pretty well. Come in a starter kit. And in the starter kit, you're guaranteed a couple tanks. I did ask them if a tank came in every pack, or at least a vehicle.
One rare, she said.
Yeah, and because that would really irritate me if I had opened a pack and there was no tanks. All right. But I know a lot of people were interested in Axis and Allies miniatures, so that's our take on it. All right. 2 people emailed us and said that we said Nexus Opus instead of Nexus Ops. We're sorry. Forgive us.
Opus.
Mr. Vassal's Opus.
Nexus Opie.
All right. Here's a game for Joe that he actually thought about for a long time because it bugged him. It said, what war games or history-themed Euro games would be played in roughly an hour and a half maximum?
Well, why don't you answer? Did you have any history-related Euro games that you want to mention, Tom?
Well, Wallenstein, but that can take to 2 hours. I don't know of many history-themed Euro games. I'm going to say Memoir, but then we'll get back into that argument. But go ahead and talk about your war games.
Okay. Well, I thought about this for a while, and my first response I thought would be ASLSK. That's the Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit. You can easily play a game of it in an hour and a half, less than an hour and a half, probably 45 minutes. But the problem with Access and Allies Starter Kit, Access and Allies, Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit is the initial learning of the game takes a little bit longer. But once you learn the game, and the Starter Kit's great for teaching the game, that would be what I'd recommend probably. And then one of my favorites, again, is the card-driven game, We the People, hour and a half tops. And unless you're both newbies, and then it might take a little bit longer to learn the system. But, they're really good games. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, history theme Euro games, maybe that in the Sign of the Cross.
What about Liberté?
Liberté? Oh yeah. I can't believe I didn't even think of that one, but it is a good Euro game that it's about the French Revolution. It's in my top 10 games even. I really enjoy playing it. So that's your answer, Bill Smith. Now this was a good question by Charles H., and it seems to be a common misconception. I'm not going to read his whole question, but basically he's just getting in the board games with his wife. Mm-hmm. And they really like Lost Cities, Carcassonne City, and he's getting ready to play Ticket to Ride. However, he already owns Union Pacific. So he wants to know if he already owned Union Pacific, should he get Ticket to Ride? And then he said maybe how did Age of Steam fit in all that? So
apples and oranges.
All three of those games are in my top 20. Ticket to Ride and Age of Steam are in my top 10. Union Pacific's in my top 20. They're all great games. I think you should own all three of them.
Yeah.
But the level of complexity in each is quite different. For Ticket to Ride is the simplest. Union Pacific is a little more complicated than Ticket to Ride, and Age of Steam is probably double the complexity of both of them.
Yeah. Well, to me, there's totally opposite. I mean, those games are nothing alike to me. I can't hardly stand Ticket to Ride. I think it's all right. I mean, you can force me to play it. And I like Union Pacific, but to me, it's just like a stock trading game. It's not even really, the theme's just kind of pasted on. And I love Age Steam, and I really get into the train theme in that one. I don't know why, even because it's still kind of pasted on theme, but I really like that. That's my favorite of the three by far.
Age of Steam?
Age of Steam, definitely.
Well, Ticket to Ride is my favorite. I like Age of Steam right behind it, but I do have a soft spot for Union Pacific. It's a good game. The thing is, Ticket to Ride is a connection game. Union Pacific is a stock market game, mm-hmm. and Age of Steam is a train game.
Area control.
They all have train themes.
Right.
I guess Age of Steam could be called a pick-up and deliver game, because that's what you're doing. You're picking up cubes and delivering them to other cities.
And Union Pacific, I think, and we talked about this a long time ago, Tom, remember this, I think it's much better than Acquire.
Yeah, that is I don't know. Union Pacific has a cooler theme, cooler pieces, but Acquire's probably a tighter game. I don't know. They're both good. All right.
Good question, though.
Thanks, Charles H. As we talked about Age of Steam, Union Pacific, and Ticket to Ride. Now, moving on, from Richard, also known as Fox, on
yes.
Board Game Geek. He wants to know what we think of the new recommendation rating system that Aldi implemented. For those of you who don't know, on Board Game Geek, they used to have a 1 to 10 rating scale.
For everything, right?
On the Geek list, and now they just have a thumbs up.
And for pictures, too, right?
You put a thumb up. Yeah, and for pictures, you put a thumbs up or you do nothing. So what do we think of it?
I like it.
I do too. I mean, I could put up a picture now and not worry about someone rating it a 1 just to bring it down.
Although I know there's still some pictures that are highly rated. I don't know why.
Well,
or highly thumbed up.
We just have to attribute that to stupidic
hormones
and the sad lives of some gamers.
Yeah. But hey, man.
But the Geek List part works really well because you now can look and see the best. If it has over 10 thumbs up, I'm pretty impressed by it.
How often a day do you go to the different websites, Tom? What are your top 3 websites that you go to a day?
Well, GameFest, I go read the blogs and the discussions on the blogs there probably 3 or 4 times. I go and see who responded and argued with me.
Yeah.
Board Game Geek, I check there for checking out games, and I check the forums and the Geek List. Not as much as I used to. And what I'm really into now is blogs.
Yeah.
I check blogs every day. I check about 25 of them.
There's a lot of blogs out there.
And so I read all of them and see which ones are interesting and which ones aren't.
Yeah, I started a blog, and I thought, just for fun, I would start linking different people's blogs to my blog that were gaming related, and I didn't realize there were so many. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, if you go to my site, I have them rated.
Really? I didn't notice that. I hope you didn't rate mine.
I didn't put yours on yet.
Yeah, that's good, because I'll get mad at you.
The new people, the newer blogs, I wait and see. Although
mine's not really purely gaming, though. Mine's just kind of ranting.
Fox did tell us about the Gone Gaming blog, and I rate that one highly already. I just think it's good.
Yeah.
If they keep it up, if they keep posting, that's the problem with blogs.
The lifespan of a blog is shorter than a Korean restaurant. If you don't, what that means is, in Korea we laugh because in this culture a restaurant will pop up on the corner and then 3 months later it'll be gone, out of business, and then something else will pop up there. It could be a hardware store. Then it's just.
Sometimes I think that there's more restaurants in Weejambu than there are people.
Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants.
There are certainly a lot.
It reminds me of, as history, like the old American way. Every little mom and pop has their own store here. So.
Well, Joe Fox has 2 questions for you.
Okay.
He wants to know, Joe, no love for Hammer of the Scots or Hannibal Rome vs. Carthage, or are you just not a fan of non-Big 3 war games? Big 3?
Let me explain the Big 3 for all you Euro people out there. The Big 3 are the themes.
Teach us, oh master.
The Big 3 are World War II, the American Civil War, and Napoleonics. And those are the majority of, I would say the majority of war gamers focus in on one of those 3 or those 3. Like me personally, I just really like World War II. It's just my thing. I like World War II games. It just highly interests me. But I like the other things. The rare. I mean, Hammer of the Scots is a great game. I don't own it, but I wish I did. I just can't get myself to buy it. I got some other ancient games. Siege of Jerusalem's a good game. There's those obscure theaters are fun to play. Vietnam. I like recently I've been getting into some Vietnam games, but I do like. What was the other game he said? Hammer of the Scots and what? Oh, Hannibal Rome versus Carthage.
Oh, come on, that's one of Joe's favorite games.
It's one of my favorite games. As a matter of fact, it was one of the first games I wanted to buy that cost $100 or so, and I didn't have to. Someone bought it for me for a gift one year. Bob, if you're listening, Bob, thank you again. But he bought it just before the big, huge inflation price there.
Yeah, but even back then it was still pretty.
It was like $60-$70 when he bought it, or whatever he paid. I have no idea. But I like that game a lot. I like card-driven games. They're to me, that's like my light Euro game. I mean, my light war game, my luck-based game is those card games. I find them a lot of fun.
Eye-Level Entertainment would like to remind humanity that we only have one planet, so let's keep it safe from alien invasion. Do your part. Join the International Space Security Agency today. For more information, visit etithegame.com.
So Joe Fox says, and I want to know, because I went to this Gone Gaming blog, and DW Trip there was called by Coldfoot the Manly Man of Gaming. Have you lost a title match somewhere?
I saw that and I just had to think, wow, they all want to be like me. And then I got an email on, I emailed DW and I asked him about it, just kind of, laughing. I said, it's okay if he wants to share the name. But he wrote back and said that wasn't his choice, that he had no part in it, so.
So Coldfoot stopped spreading dissension amongst us.
Man, Coldfoot, what's up with that?
Man, I'm not reading his blog for the next 30 minutes.
Oh, Coldfoot, thanks for, you actually commented on one of my things on my blog. Thanks, man. That means you read it. That's cool.
I won't give Joe the satisfaction.
I can't remember the address. It's www.joestedman /blog or something. I don't know.
Good. All right, Joe. Another question for you, because apparently that's all anyone ever wants to ask.
It says I'm interested and you're not.
They say with you having military experience, do you find that you have more interest in modern day era war games, or do games regarding other eras, such as the Big 3, interest you more? Are there any recent releases of modern day era war games that you personally like or think is a must play? And then someone else asked another question that said, do you know of decent war games that cover modern conflicts?
Well, I was just saying that
was from Andrew Vogel and Ken Lee.
Good. I was just saying that I've been recently getting into some Vietnam type stuff, just book reading and gaming. There's not a lot out there. There may be, but there's not a lot of good stuff out there. And actually, a friend of mine, a designer, Joe Yost, he's actually talking about doing a Vietnam game, and I'd be looking forward to that, because that'd be one of the heavy games, the monsters for Vietnam, and I think that'd be awesome. There's some old titles out there, and I just don't get a chance to play them. But a few games I mentioned, they're Vietnam era games, but it's really the same. It's basically the same tactics that we used in Vietnam we use today, and that's obvious. The new ones that have been popular, the Lock and Load, the lock and load game, the Vietnam. It's a squad level game, and I guess lock and load. They're coming out with a lock and load game for World War II. So I guess they're going to try to hit the big three because I guess that's where the money is. And then Downtown, which is the game I'm going to review later, the Vietnam War air war. And then actually, I did a review a while ago about a game called Lightning Midway. Well, Decision Games just came out with Lightning War on Terror.
Oh, right.
And so it'd be funny. So if you're really anti-war, you'd get a kick out of this game. I'm actually not anti-war, but I still got a kick out of the cards because the cards are like George Bush and Saddam Hussein and airstrike, Scud missiles and all. It's actually pretty fun. It's basically the same system as the other games, and you're both competing trying to stop the war. Not stop the war, I'm sorry. You're both completing trying to remove. There's like different.
Stop the war.
Let me put it this way: this game is not very politically correct. One of the cards is like North Korea. One of the cards is all the axis of evil, and you're trying to play cards to eliminate those threats.
In the middle of the show, you're going to hear the walls blow open and troops drag us out.
Al Qaeda's going to come get us.
All right. Another question for Joe from Peter Loop.
Is there any questions for you this show?
Yeah, almost.
Okay.
Says, Joe, have you played Bonaparte at Marengo yet? What do you think?
Played it at Origins. I got a demo of it, and my friend Bob was very impressed by it, and we were going to play it, but he got too tired, so we called it a night. But it's really cool. It's a block game. Covering one of the Napoleon's more famous battles. It's a block game, but the blocks aren't the traditional square blocks. They're long, skinny, rectangular blocks. And it was just really elegant, really smooth playing Napoleonic game. Did a good representation of what it would have felt like. And I liked it, but I didn't pick it up just because I ran out of money.
Peter Loop had another very interesting question. He said, if a game night was a dinner party, what would you play for each course?
Yeah, that's a good. Me and Tom talked about this one. This is pretty funny.
Now, this would be my course for tonight. This is not my best games of all time. Yeah, this is what I feel like playing right now.
Right. If you go into a restaurant and you could order a 5-course meal, this is what you would order.
So here's what I'm ordering for my appetizer to get me warmed up, and that would be For Sale. I just think it's a great filler game that handles up to 6 people. It's 2 rounds of auctioning. One of you bid higher than the next person, you get the cards. Then the second round is blind bidding, where you all put a card down and sell it for a price. It's so simple of a game, but it's just tremendously a fun game. Such a fun game this is, also called For Sale.
My appetizer would be Battle Line, and it's just it's a GMT remake.
I must take Battle Line more seriously. When I sit there, I get all cramped up inside.
Really, because to me, it's just a game that you whip out when everyone else is, gathering together with a group of guys, and they're all trying to decide what game to play. You can grab somebody and go sit at a table, and you can play this and be done with it before everyone else even decides what you're going to play that night. My wife and I really like to play it, so to me, it's real light and fun.
Since every meal should have a salad, my salad would be the lighter game, the game that's kind of fluffy, but, if you had to eat only this game, you could survive. And that would be Trom Fabric. It's a game about auctioning off movies and adding different stars to movies. I would prefer a modern update of the game. Uberplay is coming out with one. But even with the old actors and the old movies, it's a lot of fun. Trom Fabric.
My salad would be Atlantic Storm. And I switched a couple of rounds since I talked to Tom. Atlantic Storm it's a game that whets your appetite. When I eat a salad, I want more. It just makes me more hungry. So when I play something like Atlantic Storm, it's a light, fun game. Group of guys can sit around and play it. It's a good game.
All right.
It's a card.
Then it's
trick taking
soup, the game that fills you up, but not too much, so you can't enjoy the main course. For me, right now, that'd be Oasis. Ticket to Ride is Alan Moon's best game, but Oasis I really enjoy it. You're placing camels down in groups, and you're trying to get groups of things together to score big points, but you're auctioning off cards to other players so that they can use them. And for some reason, I just really enjoy that feature of the game. Oasis, it's a really fun game.
Yeah, my soup is a game, like Tom said, it doesn't fill you up, but it satisfies. A soup, my wife, she would never ask me if I wanted soup for dinner. I would just kind of smirk at her because A grown man can't just have soup.
You have to have meat.
You got to have something besides soup. But it does satisfy you. You can have it for, Anyway, my soup was Bitterwoods, the new version from L2 Games. You can play it in a couple hours.
That's my beef jerky. Man. What are you talking about?
It's really light. It's not really light. It's. Later on, I'm going to talk about my 3 levels of war games, but this is to me, it's not too heavy. You can walk away feeling very satisfied, but not so full where you're exhausted.
Then the main course for me is Goa. It's been a while since I played Goa. I just like all the different options, the little icons. Of course, we call them all by the wrong things. We call them peas and carrots and whatever they were. But there's just so many choices in Goa. I just really like it. It makes me think, not too hard, but hard enough to be the main course. A good chewy dish, Goa.
Gave me a headache. For me, this game is meat. Now, Bitterwoods is a Battle of the Bulge game, and it's a light Battle of the Bulge game. This is a Battle of the Bulge game that is very heavy. This is Macht der Rhein Part 2 by Joe Yost. Man, this game impressed me so much.
Was that your number 1 game from last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
This game is awesome. But it's very heavy. The rule book is thicker than probably most people's books they read. And it's heavy. Don't lie to me. I won't lie to you. It's a heavy game, and you need someone to help you learn it, or you just have to be a genius. But it's really good, and definitely a dinner.
Then it's time for dessert. Our guilty pleasure.
Yeah, games that you feel guilty for liking them.
Well, mine is Killer Bunnies. I know this game has received massive criticism by gamers, but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to like it, and I'm going to get the expansions, and I'm going to play them, and I'm going to like them, and I don't care. It's fun. Oh, I'm getting too much dessert. I'm getting kind of fat.
Calm down, boy. Calm down.
Killer Bunnies.
Calm down. Mine is Fearsome Floors, or Finsterfehler, or whatever you want to call it in German. It's a Euro game. It's silly. It's a childlike theme, but I just really like it. Don't tell any of my friends at Consim.
All right. And then the last one is our snack, the game that you eat a little bit of. You can quit in the middle or whatever. For me, it's Catch the Match, maybe any of Player Entertainment's Bright Education series. Catch the Match, you turn over 2 cards, and you have to find the exact same thing on both of them. Yeah. And it sounds silly, and it is silly, but it's quick fun, and you sit there and the 3-year-old points to the match before anyone else, and you feel stupid. Then you're like, yes, there's the match, and you throw the card at the 3-year-old and say, in your face! Maybe I should take life easier with these kids, huh?
I think so.
Catch the Match.
My snack is one of those games, those chia games, I call them. Is Lightspeed. It's a game with spaceships. You just throw them down on the table. It's a real-time game, which I usually hate, but you throw the cards on the table, and they're little spaceships, and they have different lasers on them, and then you've got so long to do this, and then you line up all your lasers, and it's just a really, really light game. It's a lot of fun, though. Tom and we've played that a few times together.
If you listen to our show it seems like a year ago, we talked about Memoir, was it a simulation or not? And we don't want to keep rehashing the same arguments or not. Suffice it to say that the majority of people who responded agreed with Joe.
Whoa, that didn't sound right.
Okay, thanks for blowing our eardrums out there. The majority of people agreed with Joe. But however, it was pretty close. I don't have the exact votes. I will go calculate those out. I will say that the best answers were from my side.
Well, see, the thing is, I don't even think it's. I have to rescind on what I said. I think it is a simulation, but I have to qualify what I mean by that.
Right. Walt O'Hara sent a very long email, which we're not going to read, Walt, but we did read it for ourselves. And basically, Walt wanted Joe to clarify: does he think card-driven war games are simulation? What exactly is a simulation, Joe?
Well, yeah, Walt, and then a guy named Gary Christensen, a really good friend of mine, he sent me another thing and basically saying that I was wrong, but he agreed with me. And so what I did was, okay, I can't argue the fact that it is a simulation because it is simulating through its bits and through its theme a war, a conflict, and so it has to be. So what I've done is, just for my own future purposes, I've decided to break down war games into 3 categories, and just for easy to remember categories. And I did this based on an M16, right? On an M16, you got 3. You can do a single shot game, or a single shot on an M16. You can do burst, or you can do fully automatic. And so if I call a game a burst game, that's the medium level game, and then single shot is the like Memoir 44. This is the real simple, and then fully automatic is those heavy games. But like Memoir 44 is that single shot game. It's got bits and it's got theme. And that makes it a simulation, but that's the extent of it. That's it. There's nothing else to me that represents a simulation. Then if you bump it up to the next level, that would be something like East Front or Bitter Woods. These are games that, they have the bits and they have the theme, just like the game, the single shot games. But these burst games, they also take into consideration things like supply, historical strategies need to be used, otherwise the game will not, you'll just totally get destroyed, and there's a lot of things that are abstracted out, and these middle level games. I think a lot of your card driven games will fall into this category, because the cards are an abstract way to represent these things that we're not gaming, and so those are the burst games. And then for me, the fully automatic, those games are like I talked about earlier, Mock Day Rhine, these monster games, or these games that that just give people a headache. ASL would be considered a fully automatic game, because everything that you can game is they try to figure out a way that you can game it. If it's just thrown to the abstract, if it's just made abstracted out, then it's probably not a fully automatic. It's probably a burst. So I don't know. That was kind of silly, but that helps me to, in the future. That'll help me in the future.
Is he done yet? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's finish up this last question, and then we'll get on to the rest of our show. But the last question was really interesting. It was 2 parts. First of all, real quick, what was the game that we played the most in our lives?
For me,
we didn't keep track when we were kids.
No,
so we don't
but
have exact
thinking
numbers.
back in my childhood, I would have to say Access and Allies, hands down, just because my brother and I had a copy, and we basically wore it out. We played every weekend, and for all through high school and junior high.
Yeah, I don't know. Axis and Allies is pretty close, but I'm thinking probably Stratego might have beat it out.
Yeah,
I played a lot of Stratego.
Probably not Stratego for me, because we were missing like 4 or 5 pieces. I remember our set at home had 4 or 5 pieces missing, so it made it harder to play.
Although, if you ask me this question in 10 years, I can tell you the answer is going to be apples to apples.
Yeah, although I've gotten sick of apples to apples and Time's Up.
Yeah, but apples to apples is easier to pull out.
I played a lot of Risk. I played a lot of chess. But that's,
By the way, this question's from Dave Shapiro. And he also then asked us, this question had nothing to do with games, so we'll answer it real quickly. He said, if we could eat dinner with any 3 people, who would they be?
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I'm not counting Jesus Christ because he's God, so
Yeah,
I left him out. So mine would be Paul the Apostle, David the guy who killed Goliath, and Adam the first man.
They have interesting conversations there.
Yeah, well, did you even write yours down?
I was going to do the whole biblical thing like you, but I thought I'd have more fun with history, so I put down 3 fun people. I put down Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Genghis Khan.
The dinner ends with Joe knifing all 3 of them.
I would do what I could do to assassinate them, right?
But to make the question more game-related,
yeah,
we decided to say, if I could play any game I wanted with anyone I wanted, what game would I pick and who would I play it with, without going into too much detail, because we don't want to give you another fantasy session report. But Joe, what's your game that you'd play?
I would probably play against Rommel, and I'd play Rommel in the desert. I think that'd be cool. Or maybe Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage against Hannibal. That'd be kind of cool.
Okay, I picked Cosmic Encounter, 6-player version of Cosmic Encounter, and I played Napoleon, Henry Kissinger, William Jennings Bryan, Abraham Lincoln, and Winston Churchill.
It's the gold standard.
I don't know how the game would go, but there should be a lot of talking, right?
Sounds like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure there.
Yeah. All right.
Part 1. Part 2 is silly.
It's time for our reviews. Who should go first, you, me, or Ted?
Ted. Let's get Ted out of the way.
Now listen, we're about to listen to an audio review by Ted Cheatham, who's a roving reporter, and he often does audio reviews for different podcasts. But we want to have lots of people, not lots of people, but we want to have people who do quality. I shouldn't say quality because we're not quality.
No, we're not quality.
But if you could do a review,
the other show out there is quality. We're just a couple of guys who want to talk.
Right. Do a mini review of a board game, or just talk about something you like about board games. Save it as an MP3 file, send it to us, and if we like it and if it's good, we'll play it on our show.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Kind of hear the voice of the people. Yeah, get power, people.
So here's Ted Cheatham talking about 2 games that neither one of us play. We saw them at Origins, Stratomax games, but we didn't play them. So here's Ted Cheatham, and we're actually going to listen to this with you, and maybe we'll make comments during it. Maybe
we can make fun of Ted,
or we can just be quiet.
Probably be the last time he sends us anything.
But we won't.
Hey, Tom, Ted Cheatham here.
What about
Great
Joe?
Meeting you at Origins, having a little dinner, and playing a couple of games. Always a pleasure to put a face with a name, and you're great to game with. Had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
You'd asked me to give you a couple of snippets for some of the things I picked up at Origins. My style at Origins is to kind of look around at some of the stranger, when I say stranger, the minor game manufacturing companies, look at some of the new things that are out.
Independence.
That's not mainstream that I'm reading about all the time. And from those, I kind of try to call those out and figure out which one of those are the style of games that I'll like, or my group will like, and try to pick those up. Sometimes I pick up games that never do make it into print that I really like, and sometimes I get a lot of turkeys, but overall, it works out.
You got that from us.
Yeah, you stole
this
that.
Time at Origins, I only picked up 3 games. Now, let me caveat that and tell you that I pre-ordered a lot of games, so most of the stuff
P500
I got coming in anyway.
I got 56 games. What's wrong with you?
And the 2 that I want to talk to you about today were the Stratomax games, Credit Mobilier, and Silver Mountain. Now, if you can get by the homemade version of these games, again, they're foam core, small foam-type pieces, strong paper, stock share certificates, and plastic pawns. There's a couple of interesting mechanics there. Oddly enough, both of those games gave me the I need to try this again to figure out how to win this thing kind of approach, which is always good. Silver Mountain is probably the lighter of the 2 games, although it's a nice medium weight game, I'd take it. And what you're trying to do is put pawns onto a rising pyramid of mine shafts, and they range like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, or 10 up the mountain, and they like a pyramid. So you're playing pawns up there as part of your actions, and you're also playing pawns into coal cars down below. And an ore car or coal car can have up to 5 trains. And so you can place a token on the board or put a token onto a train. And when a train is full with 4 or 5 cars, it actually moves to one of the lower shafts. And when it moves up to one of those shafts, if one of your tokens is up there, it will score the value of the shaft if you have a token in the train.
Well, actually sounds interesting.
And the cards are, you get a hand of 3 cards with a 1 is 1 action for you, or a 2, which is 2 actions for you, or a 1 and 1, which is an action for you and 1 for your opponent. By the way, the 1 is an action for anybody. If you get 2 actions, you have to do them both. And we all played it. We kind of enjoyed it. It's very light and easy. With 5 players, it's somewhat chaotic. I think you'd have a lot more control with 3 players. Because the train can move around without you, and people can put your pieces on the board without you having any impact for, 3 or 4 turns. It's a little chaotic, but it definitely needs another play to see what's going on there, but it's lighter. Credit Mobilier is a stock trading game.
It's also delicious
about the Union Pacific, I guess, trying to move to the West Coast. Yes, I guess it's the Central Pacific actually moving to the West Coast, but one of those train lines. And you populate the board, which is a square hex-looking, it's just a square board more or less, and you put tokens on all the corners of the intersections, and the lines in between are the tracks, that you can lay tracks to come out to the West Coast. And the interesting mechanic here is that you can either build a train, and when you build a train, you put money into the Credit Mobilier treasury. Or you can buy stock and take stock in the Credit Mobilier or any of the 4 colors of trains.
Hello?
Or you can move goods. And when you move goods, the color of the good puts $2 into that company's treasury. It also puts 2 goods in the company treasury of the track it moved across. That's assuming it's moving from east to west to the West Coast. If it moves north or south, the good being moved scores $2, but the track it crosses, moving north and south, you don't score money, you just reposition the good. So you've got an interesting mechanic on whether you're going to play track or buy stock. And if stock pays out...
Play track or buy stock. That sounds like Union Pacific, don't it?
The whole thing is driven by colored dice to tell you what color of tokens you can move or what color stock you can buy, etc. And you can only use 1 color on a turn. It's an interesting mechanic. A little bit reminded me of Carolus Magnus.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure about the game. I mean, there was a lot going on. Dice can hinder you since it is a dice game that will turn some people off. But there were some interesting decisions in the way the game played out. It definitely needs another try to see if this is going to be a keeper for the long term. Anyway, you wanted some snippets from me on the couple of games I've had that I played one time that I bought that were different. That's them. And I hope to see you next year at Origins, and keep up the good work. Talk to you later. Ted Cheatham signing off.
Bye, Ted.
Bye, Ted. Thanks for popping by to Korea. It's not often we have...
He's standing right here next to us.
Yeah,
see you, Ted.
That, Ted.
Answer your phone.
You had to go answer your phone.
Go answer your phone, Ted.
But if you want to be just like Ted, then send us an audio thing, and maybe we'll use it. Gragnads, we might even use one from you.
Yeah, because it might be easier to understand you vocally than to read you.
Right. Bold. And so then, unbold, we said, quote...
In red.
Ted Cheatham is a joy to play. When you listen to his voice, he's so enthusiastic, and in real life, he's the same way. It's pretty funny.
What's he look like?
You can find his picture in here now. I'll have to show you later.
All right.
He looks like an ordinary guy until I saw a picture of him with a turban on playing Zendo. He was the master of Zendo.
Ooh.
All right, whose turn's now? You or me?
What are we doing now?
Reviews. Downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, do your downtown.
All right. Last week, a guy asked me, one of the guys asked me, we have his name here somewhere, he asked me to do a review of Downtown. And, I was thinking about doing that anyway because I know there's been some controversy, not big controversy, but there was some controversy about this game because of how high of a rating it has on Board Game Geek. And I want you to know that it is a 10. There are some games that just deserve to be a 10, and it's one of my 10s. I really, really like this game. It's a GMT game, came out in 2004. A guy named Lee, I can't pronounce his name Lee Wood. Anyway, it's a 2-player game. It does have a great set of solitary rules that are out on the internet that the designer put out. Actually, that's how I've played it twice now. And I've not had a chance to play it with someone else, so you have to just put up with my review for playing it solitaire. But it's a game that represents the air war over Hanoi in Vietnam. It represents like Rolling Thunder and Linebacker, the different big campaigns that happened. One player plays the role of the Americans, and he has to he has to plot out his routes, what forces he's going to use, and he has a set victory conditions for the scenarios. There's many scenarios. There's easy scenarios. There's big campaign games. And the Vietnamese player, the other player, he has to control his concentrations of anti-aircraft fire, his radar artillery, SAM missiles. He can even launch the old MiG fighters against the bombers and whatnot. That doesn't usually do any good, but he can do it. He's trying to break up the American attack. And the thing is, the victory conditions are in such a way that it's really hard, at least through my experiences, it's really hard for the American player to pull it off if he loses any pilots. You can lose a plane as long as your pilots don't get killed, but if your pilots get killed and you lose a plane, it's hard for you to win. It's a beautiful map. It's 2.5 miles per hex. Like I said, it's kind of a heavy. It's a rather heavy game. I would definitely call this a fully automatic. My new patented Joe Steadman rating system, or not rating, but categorizations, right?
Trademark.
My trademark here.
Trademark by the Dice Tower.
Yeah, trademark. I'm going to put a trademark.
You copy it, we'll sue you.
But if you go to Board Game Geek, they've got some good downloads. You can download the solo player rules, and there's a summary of play on there that really could probably give you a better. It takes more time to explain the game because this is a heavy game. If you go to the Board Game Geek and you download this PDF file, it's a pretty good summary of play. And then I would just download the solitary rules and just read those. If you like the solitary rules, and I would highly recommend this game. It's one of my few 10s. I think I got like 11 or 12 10s, and this is one of them. Not much else I can say.
Well, thanks for that review of Downtown Joe.
The secret animal war rages on. iLevel Entertainment is releasing a new battle box this summer for their award-winning game, Nature of the Beast. For more details, visit etithegame.com.
My game is High Society, which has been out for 10 years now.
10 years? I didn't think you liked anything that was older than 3 years.
Yeah, but it just came out in the past couple years by Uberplay. High Society is another filler game like For Sale, which I mentioned earlier. Basically, each turn you have money cards in your hand of different denominations, and a card is turned over in the middle of the table. Sometimes it's a 1 through 10. That's how many points you get if you win that card. So you bid money from your hand, and whoever wins the bid discards their money cards that they bid and takes the card and put it in front of themselves. Sometimes there's a negative card, which will cut your points in half, or take negative points away from you, or steal one of the things you've already won. and you have to bid, and the first person who passes, they take the card, and everyone else loses all the money they bid. And then there's a couple other cards that double the amount of money you make. Well, that sounds interesting, and it is fun, and you're trying to see who gets the most points at the end by bidding. You each have the same amount of money cards, and you want to see who can use them most expediently. But at the end of the game, whoever has the least money in their hand automatically loses. It doesn't matter how many points you have. It doesn't matter how many good possessions and cards you have. If you don't have more money than at least one other person, you lose. And that makes the game fun, because it makes you think before you bid. And you bid, and you wonder, if I bid this and I win this great card, will someone bid more than me and lose the game because of it? Or will I lose the game? And sometimes if two players are tied for having the least money, they both lose and a third person can win. So even if your cards in front of you are really bad, you can conserve your money and hope that you win that way. So all this takes place in about 15 minutes, which makes High Society a really good filler by Rainer Knizia and produced by Uberplay. It's a good game. High Society, I recommend that you pick it up.
Hey, I had one more thing I want to say about my review. I forgot. Is it all right?
Yeah, but we're going to have to let Ted say something more about his review.
No, I just want to say that I'm rather irritated at some guy. It's kind of a mini rant, but it's about the game. There was some controversy about this game and about shilling it and all these. Not shilling, but what's it called when you? Is it shilling?
It's anti-shilling.
Well, what is it? Some people said that people were just giving this game a 10 because, trying to pump up the ratings. But no, it's a good game. It's a 10, I'm telling you. So anyway, some guy came on here, and he's the only one that's rated it below a 7. This guy comes on here and rates it a 1. He doesn't leave any comment. He doesn't do anything. The user is S Fox, so everyone should send him some nasty grams.
Has he rated anything else?
Yeah, he's rated a bunch of games. But guess what his 10s are? Puerto Rico and in these other games.
Come on.
This guy, no, he's nervous that this heavy war game is moving up the top 50 thing. It's one of the it's top 20, I think now. I'm not even sure what number it is. But if you took his one rating out, I'm curious. Maybe maybe I should send him an email to Aldi, because I don't know how to do it mathematically. I'm curious to see what the game's rating would be if you remove this one number 1, because everything is 7 and above, and the majority of the ratings for this game are a 10. There's almost 50 ratings for this game.
Actually, I could figure that out if you give me a calculator. So
maybe we'll do that later.
All right.
Well, you make me mad.
There you go, Joe. Ted, did you have anything else you want to say?
Hey,
no?
Tom, Ted Cheatham here.
Okay, thanks, Ted. All right.
Ted, get out of here. Your wife's on the phone.
All right. Well, I guess we have maybe 5 minutes before we do our top 10 list. To give you yet another session in our Origins report.
It'll probably be the last one, won't it?
Well, maybe we'll probably keep bringing it up for the rest of the year, though.
Just to make everyone jealous that we went and you didn't.
We went to our one convention.
Yeah, we're not famous. We can just go to one and that's it. But
if you go to any one convention, we said this last week. Never mind.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
All right. Origins. There was a lot of cool stuff at Origins.
Yeah.
One cool thing I got at Origins were these little roll-on walls stampers that you could roll on a big mat. And
the dungeon thing, right?
Make dungeon walls for your RPGs.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I really like I just like to go look at all the miniatures. There's so many kinds of miniatures out there. I saw miniatures of like little mobsters and miniatures of fantasy stuff and science fiction stuff and historical stuff. I just like the miniatures, and they have like a painting booth there at Origins where they have people painting the miniatures.
Did you paint one this year?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I painted a few bugs.
Really?
Yeah, just for fun.
Huh. I didn't. Every year I go by and say, I wonder if I paint a miniature. Then I look at what everyone else is painting.
I painted it.
And I think, oh man, I can't even be as good as the worst person here.
The lady said actually mine was pretty good. It wasn't as good as so I thought mine was pretty bad, but I did it red and black striped like a Nike bug.
Was it one of the Starship Trooper bugs?
Yeah, the Starship Trooper bugs.
Was it one of yours?
No. Some guy had a bunch of them there that he was letting people paint. So, because he said they're bugs, so who cares? So he made like 50 bugs, and he just passed them out to everybody, and everyone was painting his bugs. He goes, look, I get free painted bugs, and for his army, it looks cool because there's like every spectrum of the rainbow on the battleground.
Huh.
It was a pretty cool idea.
Maybe I should try that.
Yeah,
Give to my kids.
The hard part is to assemble them, though.
They are hard to assemble?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was kind of disappointed. They're not overly hard. They're just kind of fiddly when you're putting them together.
So you've been working on that this week, haven't you?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so those are a couple cool things that we saw at Origins. Now it's time for our, well, we can talk about it more, I guess, in other ones.
Well, we didn't, what about...
more memorable opponents.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You have any memorable opponents, Tom?
Well, it's Ted Cheatham for one, Rick Thornquist for another, Bob, our friend, for a third.
Yep. He kicked my tail.
Zambo from Board Game Geek, who looked like he was sneering the whole time in agony, but man, he was a good teacher and we had a good time. But I still can't believe he took me out in Damaker. Zambo, I'll never forget that. You ruined my game.
I still remember. I'm too lazy to look up the name of this game.
I can't believe you did it.
But I played an all-nighter.
You ruined it for me.
What? What are you talking about? You're messing with my head. I played an all-nighter with Gary Christensen and Joe Yost. We played some Eastern Front old SPI game. I can't remember what it was now. Maybe Gary or Joe can email me and tell me because I'm too lazy to look it up myself. But
oh, great! Never get more emails about look stuff up before you talk about it.
But those are some memorable opponents. So is Mark Pitkevich. He's the big ASL guy. He's such a nice guy. He's interesting to play against. But then I played this game. I played Napoleonic Wars with a couple of these guys. I didn't know any of their names, and frankly, I'm pretty glad because these guys are pretty. Well, a couple of them are pretty good, but one guy was just really rude. He kind of got on my nerves. But the one guy, he looked like Larry Bird.
Well, I actually didn't have anybody. I didn't have anybody who I played against that I thought was annoying. That was pretty good.
Well, I guess my last memorable moment there was that guy who approached me from Board Game Geek. He didn't tell me his name, but he basically cussed me out. I guess he didn't like my opinions on Euro games and German games.
This really has me interested. Send me who you are, and I'll send you 5 gold just to find out who you are.
You're going to give him 5 gold, huh?
Well, it's for confessing.
Yeah, right, sure.
For confessing his
I think
crime.
You probably paid this guy to do it.
No, I am
You and
not
Rick
so.
Thornquist got together and paid this guy off. And Morgan.
Well, we'll see.
Anyway, all right, let's keep going.
You know what? Our wives play games. They don't play them as much as we do, by far.
We're fanatics, and so.
But they do play games mostly because we.
Honestly, I
get them to play.
I think my wife likes games more than I do at times. At least Euro-style games. I know she does.
She's definitely a better player.
She is. She's really quick. It's scary.
So these are our top 10 games that our wives like. Well, they made the list.
Yeah, I totally made the list. And actually, it's funny because I told my wife, and I didn't give her much notice. I didn't want her to think about it too long. I just wanted to have her honest opinion. So I gave her a piece of paper. I numbered it 1 to 10. I said, honey, write down your top 10 games. And then I put a few, on the back side of the paper, I put a few suggestions. Not suggestions, but reminders in case she couldn't remember. But she didn't even use any of the games that I hinted at. She made her own top 10. She didn't know some of the names, and so she described them. So maybe me and Tom can figure out what she means on her descriptions.
Yeah, well, my wife's number 10 game was Crossword Pyramids. And when she put this down, she said, am I going to get in trouble for saying this? And I said, no. The designer of Crossword Pyramids caused quite a controversy on Board Game Geek and across the internet. But Crossword Pyramids is a really fun word game. I really enjoy playing it. You're putting triangles, pyramids down with letters, and you're trying to make words on the board, but you can use as many as you want. You can use other people's letters. It's a really fun game with really high quality components. I like it far better than Scrabble. It's more easily accessible to me and my wife, but she really enjoyed it. So Crossword Pyramids is her number 10.
Wow. My wife's number 10 was really funny because it's just such an oddball game. It's called Home Improvement. And yes, it's based off the TV show. But we got it at a garage sale, believe it or not. And it's like, at first I was nervous because you open it up, it looks like Monopoly. But it's nothing like that. There's 2 boards. There's an outer board and an inner board. The outer board, you move your pawns around. It's just roll and move. And it's different stores, like hardware store, lumber yard, things like this. And the inner board is a house, and it's like rooms of the house. And each person who's playing has a 4 or 5 job cards, and your object of the game is to collect the pieces, the lumber, the tools, and all the things that you need to complete the job on your card. And when you have everything you need to complete this job, then you move to the inner circle and you try to move to the room where that card says the job needs to be done. And if you complete this job, you get paid off whatever amount is on that card. And it's the first person to raise whatever amount of money. And I didn't know if I'd like it or not, but we played it, and believe it or not, it was actually a lot of fun. And my wife liked it more than I did even, and we played it 3 or 4 times in the past year. And
I won't bother playing
for an early '90s game based on a TV show. I think it's really good. And the game's not even credited. It's just it's made by a Northern Games company. Have you heard of them? And it's not even got designers not even credited.
Yeah, well, that's the way it is with a lot of those games. All right, my wife's number 9 game was Carcassonne the City. Now, my wife likes all Carcassonne, but she said that the latest version she really enjoyed. Carcassonne the City is very similar to the other Carcassonne games, except you can build a wall around the city and put your little meeples up on the wall. And if they see a certain amount of buildings in their line of sight, you get points. And you can also put the tiles of Carcassonne down any way you want, even just to make the different parts of the city inside different shapes and sizes. And I have to agree with her. I think Carcassonne the City is my favorite incarnation of it. It's definitely one of the easiest for new players, and my wife and I had a good time playing it 2 players. I also enjoy playing it with 4 players. Carcassonne the City was my wife's number 9 game.
My wife's number 9 game was Why the Chicken? Why Did the Chicken? It's a party game.
A great party game.
Yeah, it's one of my top 10 party games. You're given the elements of a joke, and you come up with a punchline. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, you draw cards, and those cards give you the 2 essential elements of the joke, and then you have to write out as many as you want in a set time of what the punchline is, and then you turn them all in, and whatever the person whose turn it is to be the judge will pick the one that they think is the funniest. And there's no real rule on how you can choose. You can choose the one that's the neatest or the quickest or the one that is the silliest, because when we play, we're always crying. We're laughing so hard. But my wife put that for her number 9.
My wife's number 8 game is Rage. She likes trick-taking games. She was kind of turned off by playing Rook her whole childhood, and her father and her brother and her uncles took the game entirely too seriously. In fact, her father locked her mother out of the house one time after she played poorly in a partnership game. But so she plays the game, but she liked Rage because it was more fun, more accessible, had a good time because there was a lot more luck in it. I like Rage too. Joe hates it, but Rage is her number 8 game.
My wife's number 8 game is Cartagena. Is that how you say it? Cartagena? How do you pronounce it?
Cartagena?
The game Cartagena. It's the game where you move the little pawns representing the pirates across the board, trying to get them into the pirate ship before it sails away. And you play cards from your hand with your, there's knives and keys and skulls and bottles, and she just really likes that game. Actually, she was addicted to it for quite a while on the internet. What's that called? Blue. Do you know that website, Tom, by chance? What's that website that you can play that game called? Do you know? It's got Blue Mac. No, it's not. It's the less popular one. It's got...
I don't know. There's about 6 or 7 of the smaller ones. Anyway, you can play it on the internet.
Yeah, you can play it on the internet, and she just really likes it.
All right. That was Cartagena.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's number 7 game is Carabande. Now, Carabande is a game where you flip cards around, and it's a lot of fun. It's my personal ping pong table. By saying that, it's a game I spent over almost $200 on, probably.
Yeah, and how many times have we played it in the past year?
We haven't played it quite as much, but the youth group plays it, and it's a good game to bring out. You set up these huge tracks and flick them around, and when you set it up, like at a party or something, lots of people will gather around and play it. And my wife just likes flicking the discs because it gives her an equal chance with anyone else, she says.
My number 7 for my wife is Union Pacific, and this kind of gives me a backstab because I used to own this game, but I actually traded it to Tom about...
Ooh, what a nice game I had.
3 years ago.
I like
in our first, what we called mega trade.
Yeah, Joe and I traded like 30
titles at least. Basically, he traded all his old war and bookshelf games, and I traded him all my Euro games.
I got the better deal.
I don't think so. But anyway... that's just Union Pacific is a great game. It's a stock game with the train theme. She really likes it. I knew she liked it when I traded it, but it was kind of the one of the games Tom mentioned that he wanted, and so it was kind of one of the essential games I had to trade. So I did it anyway. And I've been looking to buy it, but I hate buying games that I used to own. I feel like I'm buying them twice.
Yeah, I understand that. That's why I haven't got Kremlin.
Yeah, that's one of the games I got from you.
So what game was that again? It was Union Pacific?
Yeah.
All right, my wife's number 6 game was Sunda to Sahul, a game where you basically use actual like puzzle type pieces that are made of really good quality. They're really thick pieces, and you can put them together in all different ways to make a map. It's kind of like Carcassonne, but instead of using squares, you're using puzzle pieces, and it's a lot more interesting to put them together. You can play a speed version of the game, where you put them down as fast as you want, but my wife and I prefer the slower, more leisurely paced game where we can talk and even help each other find a good place to put a puzzle piece. Sunda to Sahul.
Monica's my wife's name, by the way. Monica's number 6 game is, she wrote down the horse gambling game.
Is that Win Place or Show?
No, it's not Win Place or Show.
Too bad.
I'm pretty sure it's the other one, the...
Royal Turf.
Yeah, Royal Turf. See, there I go, losing my mind. Royal Turf, we have played that game a lot. And frankly, I think I talked about it as a turkey a few episodes ago. Just because we played it so much, I just kind of... It lost its appeal to me. But she really likes the game.
Joe did not trade this one away.
No. My wife would have killed me.
Yeah. My wife's number 6 game is Could You?
I think we already did 6. I think it's number 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I moved it to number 5. My wife's number 5 game is Could You? Spelled Coodju. It's a spelling game.
Ew.
I don't know if you played it. You roll a die and you have to spell the words using just the vowels, or you spell them using just the consonants. And
How could that be fun?
Well, I played it with several people, and they all enjoyed it. And then one time I pulled the game out, and it fell flat.
I hate spelling.
And so I hate spelling too, but I like the game. But she really liked it.
I learned the look-see method in my elementary school.
I think it's because she actually enjoyed it.
We didn't have phonics.
And she's good at spelling. So her number 5 game is Could You?
Now, Monica's number 5 game is another one with a cute title. She says, Tom's Clay Game. After further investigation, we realized this was Barbarossa.
Although I think she would probably like Cluzzle better.
But she's never played Cluzzle.
Okay,
so
but
she really liked Barbarossa. I remember when we played it. It was like, 2 years ago? At least.
It's been a long time.
But I remember we were just having a blast. I might have to pick that up. Maybe I'll get that Cluzzle game that you talked about.
If you ever get a chance for Barbarossa, look up Barbarossa on Board Game Geek, and there's a list there of war games.
Yes, Barbarossa was when Hitler invaded.
No, but I know, but there's a list of war games, and they give a description of Barbarossa and using the arrows to stab. It's one of the funniest things I've ever read on the internet. You have to go look it up. My wife's number 4 game, Laura's number 4 game is Beyond Balderdash. She likes Balderdash, but Beyond Balderdash is better. It's her favorite party game. I like it a lot, too. I think Time's Up and Why Did the Chicken are better, but Balderdash is easier for her. She can think of the definitions easier than she can think of riddles. So she likes Beyond Balderdash. I like it, too, although our games usually degenerate into me writing the stupidest thing I can think of.
Yeah, I always say things like, Monica, you're hot, for my answer.
Beyond Balderdash. Ay. Do your number 4. Or her number 4.
Her number 4 is David and Goliath. And that's the trick-taking game that the person who plays the highest card gets their choice of the cards that are in the trick, and the person who plays the lowest card, no, opposite. The person who plays the highest has to take all the remainder cards, and the person who plays the lowest gets their choice of the card, and you're trying to form different suits. And anyway, it's a trick-taking game. It's a lot of fun. She likes cards. When we were dating, we played cards all the time.
Okay. My wife's number 3 game is 10 Days in the USA or 10 Days in Africa. Those games are very similar to... they remind me a little bit of Racco, where you're trying to get your cards in order. You're basically trying to travel across the United States or Africa and just move your cards so they get in order so that your cards in order make a trip. And it's a really good game. It's good for teaching geography. I may
it's okay
use
as
it
long
at school.
It's okay as long as you don't play with someone who just keeps all the wilds for no reason.
Well, anyway, she really, really likes the game. And so it's her number 3 game, Barbarossa. 10 Days in the USA or Africa. They're 2 different games, but they're pretty much the same thing.
Monica's number 3 game is another Tom's games called Moods, and Moods is another party game. And this is a pretty fun game. I'll admit it. basically you have to say a phrase, if I remember right. You have to say a phrase on a card, but you have to try to say it in a you say it in a you have to try to say it in a certain type of mood, maybe like romantic or ticked off or whatever. And then everyone who's playing has to try to guess what mood that you're trying to portray while you say the statement. And the funny thing is, the statements will be funny things like you sank my battleship, but you have to say it romantically. So it makes for some really silly situations, and I guess she really liked the game. I never would have guessed that she would have had this for her number 3 game overall.
My wife's number 2 game, and I'm very proud of her for this, I had no idea, is Ticket to Ride. Wonderful game. I've already gushed the praises of Ticket to Ride. If you don't own Ticket to Ride, go out and buy it right now. Buy it and put in your question.
You can have my copy. Wait, I don't have a copy.
Ticket to Ride is a great, great game. It is replacing Settlers of Catan as the gateway game. You watch and see. Ticket to Ride, number 2 for my wife, Laura Vassal.
Now, number 2 for my wife, it'll make all you Eurogamers jealous. My number 2 game for my wife is Tigris and Euphrates, which is amazing because it's a pretty heavy game. I mean, it's not very. It's hard to explain. I think it's hard to teach someone how to play this game. Once they understand it, it's not very hard to play. It's hard to master. I'll give you that. And some of my most intense gaming moments have been playing Tigris and Euphrates with 3 other guys who knew what they were doing. But my wife we had this game for a while. Once again, this was one of the games that I traded to Tom in the Mega Trade. And, I'm looking at this list of my wife's top 10 games, Tom. I don't own 6 of the 10 games on her list. Isn't that sad?
I'm surprised that Tigris and Euphrates is her number 2 game.
Same here. But she just really liked it.
Well, there you have it. And my number 1 game of my wife's, which I actually thought was her number 1, so I got 1 right out of 10, I think, was Lost Cities. She loves Lost Cities. Whenever we play, it's fun. Either I end up throwing my cards across the room because I'm mad, or I sit there and gloat in her face as I've killed her once again. But Lost Cities is the spousal 2-player card game. It is great. If you have a wife who doesn't like gaming very much and you want to get her involved, Lost Cities is the game to buy. Number 1.
My wife's number 1, I also guessed. This was the one I actually guessed, and this is another Euro. But it's a variation. It's Settlers of Canaan. That's the same. It's basically the same game as Settlers of Catan, but Settlers of Canaan is my wife's favorite game.
Wow.
And I think it's better than Settlers of Catan personally. I like the added on theme. And I like the aspect with the stones. If you've played it, they've got a thing where you can build stones, like an optional way to win, other than just the normal way as in Settlers. But she really likes it, and now that I think about it, we've played it quite a few times. Matter of fact, whenever this summer we brought it home with us, and we popped it out every time we went to someone's house. I think I forgot all about that.
Well, those are our top 10 games that our wives like, and I so very much appreciate my wife.
Yeah,
it's great to have wives who play games. Sometimes we get together and 3 of us have a good time, and Joe's also there, and it's just fun to play games. It's good to have a wife who enjoys games. She doesn't sit around, but my wife also edits everything I write, so she knows more about board games than probably most of you do. But she just pretends she doesn't. But I knew she knew about board games when she wanted to know if writing Crossword Pyramids was okay on her list.
Yeah, I have to apologize to my wife because I have to admit there's been times where she'll just say, "Hey, you want to play a game? Hey, you want to play a game? Hey, you want to play a game?" And I'm always like, And I don't give my wife credit because she's actually a really good game player. And my problem is I like war games. My wife doesn't really like war games. She likes Euro games. So, maybe she should have married a Euro gamer. Because she always wants to play games, but the kind of games that she likes and the kind of games I like are just opposite. So, I don't know. Maybe I just need to be more compromising and play more Euro games with my wife. Maybe this would be a good chance for me to play some Euro games with someone besides Tom.
Anyway, all right. Well, we got to wrap things up here, folks. If you haven't entered our contest yet, do that. If you want to email us a question, do that. Check out our website at www.thedicetower.com. Email us at thedicetower@gmail.com.
Right.
Tell us top 10 lists you'd like to see. We get so many requests for those that we can't do them all, but we are trying to do something.
Yeah, and we really like doing a top 10 list. And
that's my favorite thing to get ready for the show. I really enjoy that part. That's one part, even if everyone told us they hated it, I would still keep it because I like it that much. You can read our top 10 lists on the website. I should have it up by the time the show's posted. If not, I'll have it up only a day after.
Sure.
If you can help us with coding or graphics for the website or anything.
Technical stuff.
Sure. Let us know. I'm not very good at that sort of thing, and so I can use any help I get.
Right.
But any final comments?
No. Like I said, like he said, we got the website, and then we got the, if you have any questions, please email thedicetower.com. And Tom's got his website now with all his reviews and all that stuff there. So if you want to read some of Tom's prolificness, or if you want to say it, you can go there. And then I've got my own blog, and it's not strictly gaming related, but I do play a lot of games and stuff, and so feel free to come make fun of me there if you would like.
Yeah, do that.
Tom does it, but he doesn't write. He makes fun of me in person. That way, he doesn't have to look like he actually read it, because he doesn't post any comments that way.
Comments last forever. Snide word only lasts a moment.
That looks like a tape recorder.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to the Dice Tower.
And for this, that's this theme. If you know what this theme is, email me and I'll give you a Geek Gold.
All right. Are you going to run out of Geek Gold eventually?
No, because when I get, I'll just write a review or I'll send in some pictures.
All right.
I got all these war games no one ever has no pictures of.
Well, talking about board games, this is Tom Vassell.
And Joe Stedman.
And we're the Sons of Liberty.
A couple comments about the show at this point. Here was where I first discovered Audacity and how to start editing our show, which has made a bit of a difference in the past, but it's still hard to do. You go back, you edit again, and then eventually you say, what's the point of editing? Well, people really notice when you don't edit. If you notice in this show, we made a call for contributors. We had Ted Cheatham do a review, and this was originally an idea I had way back then, and it really didn't get implemented until episode 51 on a really full-time basis where we just had lots of contributors. But, man, did we ever get feedback from this episode. See, GeekSpeak at the time, they had Ted Cheatham and they had other people on doing things in the background, and I always felt like it was just so obvious that they inserted the things. And I thought, well, that doesn't seem very personal. So I thought, we'll listen to it live, and we'll make comments every once in a while so that people know we're listening to it. And if you heard this episode, it is annoying and obnoxious sounding. We didn't mean it to come across that way. That's just the way it did, and we got lots of emails that said, hey, when Ted's talking, shut up. And so we did from then on out, and I still feel bad listening to this. But, hey, these are things that we learned, and we sure got a lot of feedback back then about people saying they like this, they like that, and a lot of times people said, hey, why is the show so long? And good point. So I guess I'm done here. I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for joining us today. Stop by next week for episode 113, in which we review the year 2000 in board games. Our sponsor this show was iLevel Entertainment, makers of Nature of the Beast and ETI, Estimated Time to Invasion. To learn more about our games, visit us at www.etithegame.com. Best wishes for 2008, and remember to focus on the fun. Until next week, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been listening to The Dice Tower.